Yo, what's up guys, it's Blaze, and in this video I'm be showing you guys the top 3 Tailwind Setters in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet VGC. So, starting off, these are just purely for Tailwind. I have them ranked in order of priority. So, Talonflame, and this is all, if they're all max speed, Talonflame will set up Tailwind before Murkrow, who will set up Tailwind before Kilowattrel. So these are the top 3. Once again, I just have them in order of priority, but you could use all 3 of these. I think all 3 of these are really good, and the reason why I'm going with a top 3 over a top 5 or top 10 is because I just feel like these 3 are just miles ahead of the rest. But I will have some honorable mentions, so there's more than 3, but the top 3 is the more important. So also, I'm just going with a basic move sets. These aren't the best move sets. I don't even have EVs or IVs and all that stuff, because that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about how good they are at Tailwind. But I went with just generic decent move sets because a lot of these Pokemon have a ton of different ways you can run them. So starting off with Talonflame, like I said, is the fastest Tailwind setter. You have Gale Wings, so that gives you priority for setting up your Tailwind. And once again, at max speed, you outspeed the Murkrow, who also has priority. So the item, just a covert cloak, so you don't get like faked out or flinched and different things like that. And then with the moves, once again, Tailwind, of course, and then just some sample moves with Talonflame. I like Talonflame as a mixed support and attacker. So you have 2 offensive moves, Brave Bird and Flare Blitz. They have recoil, which sucks, but they're very hard hitting moves. And then if they don't hit you turn 1, you have a Gale Wings Brave Bird, which is absolutely insane. And then for the third move, I like to go with a support option. So Talonflame gets a few good support options. I think the best 2 are Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. So once again, depending on the team you're making, depending on what you need for your team, there's a ton of different moves, which is why I don't want to completely go over the move sets. So Talonflame, I think, is number 1, just purely Trick Room. So number 2 is Murkrow. Murkrow is another Pokemon that gets the priority with the Prankster ability. So Prankster will boost the status priority moves, so moves that don't do damage. So that's really good. And then for the moveset and stuff for the Murkrow, I think Eviolite is by far the best item for Murkrow because it's not fully evolved. And the reason why Murkrow over, some people might be like, why don't you use Honchkrow? Honchkrow doesn't get a lot of these moves and also doesn't get Prankster. So that's very, very important. And then going with the moves, of course, we got the Tailwind. And like I said, max speed, Prankster and Gale Wings have the same priority, which is +1. So Talonflame is just so much faster than Murkrow. So even if you max out your speed, you're not outspeeding a Talonflame. So that's why I have Talonflame technically number 1, but like I said, all 3 of these that I have are very, very good. And then Murkrow is another Pokemon that just gets a ton of support moves. So the 2 best ones I see, the ones used the most is Taunt and Haze. So Taunt prevents status moves, so you can taunt other Pokemon, but they'll still get, so for example, if you try to taunt the Talonflame, he'll still get the Tailwind off before you taunt him. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you're not going against like a Talonflame, you can taunt a ton of different Pokemon, which is really good. And then Haze eliminates stat changes. It's really good for like Dondozos. If you got intimidated, there's a lot of case scenarios for Haze, but I think the biggest one is of course the Dondozos. And then the last move, I go with like a attacking move. There's 2 moves you can go here. You can go Foul Play, which just does the most damage, and then you could also just use Sucker Punch. But with the Eviolite, your Murkrow can survive a few hits, so I feel like Sucker Punch is not that much of a important move to use, although it is a great option to use. I think Foul Play is a little bit better, but there's a ton of different moves you can use on the Murkrow. Like I said, with the support option, you got Icy Wind to lower the speed. You just got a ton of different support option moves that you can run, which is why I think Murkrow is one of the best Tailwind setters in the game, and just best supports in general. And then lastly, the third is Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel does not get priority, which is why it's ranked below both of these. But Kilowattrel does have insane speed. So the base speed is 1 lower than Talonflame. So Talonflame will pretty much outspeed you no matter what. But Kilowattrel, once again, gets a ton of great support moves and also gets some really good offensive moves. So that's why I have 2 Kilowattrels. We're gonna go with this one will be the more support oriented version, and then this will be a more attacking oriented version, which also still can run support moves. But like I said, these are just random moves. Like sometimes you might want to run protect. Like this ain't the perfect move set. Just want to say that again. These are just generic moves that are just really good that these Pokemon can get. So Kilowattrel, you want to run Focus Sash because it doesn't have that good of a defense or special defense. So Focus Sash is very important. And then with the this version, the support oriented version, I think Wind Power is a little bit better because you get you become charged if you get hit by a wind move or if Tailwind begins. So if you activate Tailwind or if the opponent activates Tailwind, you get the little boost, which is pretty good. And then for the moves, with this one, like I said, a little bit more support oriented. So Eerie Impulse and Feathered Dance, basically the same moves, but this one lowers the attack by 2 and this one lowers the special attack by 2. And then Thunderbolt, because you're charged, you know, you should go with like a move that does a little, that you can do damage with. But Kilowattrel also gets a ton of different support moves that are pretty good. U-turn is a move you also could use to just switch out, or Volt Switch is what I mean. But you know, he gets Thunder Wave, he gets Scary Face. This is something you could potentially use to lower the speed. So another decent support one. And then with this one, it's pretty similar, but with this one you want to run a competitive, which will boost your special attack by 2 if your stat gets lowered, which Intimidate, there's a ton of different moves that do that. And then like I said, with this one, you could still, with this slot I feel like is a slot you can change with anything. I think this is a more common used one, and then this move even changes. So starting with this, like I said, you can use the Eerie Impulse or the Feather Dance or any other support move, or you could just go with Protect. This one being a more offensive oriented one, I think Protect's a little bit more important. Of course, you got your Tailwind, and then just a Stab Flying and a Stab Electric move. Pair it up with the competitive is really good. And then with this one, you also could run like Discharge. Discharge is a really good move. If you have Garchomp, Garchomp is a very common lead that you run in VGC. So if you lead with Kilowattrel and Garchomp, you can basically just Discharge and your Garchomp is not going to get hit by it. So that's a move you could potentially use. And then I've even seen some people use Electro Ball. If you outspeed the, if you're faster than the user, the more faster you are than the user, it does more damage. So that's pretty good. And then now going into the honorable mentions, these are just Pokemon that are good in VGC that get Tailwind, and then the last couple will be a little bit more specifics. So Hydreigon's just a very, very good Pokemon currently in the meta. With this one, you usually don't want to run Tailwind on Hydreigon, but Hydreigon does get Tailwind, and there have been a few people that have ran Tailwind on their Hydreigon. But with this one, I just went with like a Dark Stab move, Dark Pulse being one of the best, Draco Meteor being one of the best for dragons, and then Flash Cannon. This is something a lot of people have been using. The Steel Tear type with Flash Cannon really disrupts fairies and stuff like that. And Hydreigon also gets Levitate, so being immune to ground is also very, very good to have. And of course he gets Tailwind. Salamence, I think Salamence is another good one because it's a very powerful dragon Pokemon that also gets Intimidate, which is a very, very great ability. So with this one, same thing, when we're like the Steel Terror with the Iron Head for this version, which can also cause flinches. But of course we got our Dragon type move, we got our Tailwind, and then Dragon Dance I think is a solid option to boost. Salamence is going to be a sweeper. And then now going into the weather specific versions, if you're running a rain team, Pelipper is a really great Tailwind setter. Of course you got Drizzle to set up your Rain, you got the Tailwind, and then you got with this version I just went with like 2 very powerful stab moves, Hydro Pump and Hurricane. Hurricane with the 70% accuracy is not that good, but of course you're in the rain, so it's 100% accurate, which is really good. And then the last one is like Protect or Wide Guard. Once again, depends on the team that you run, but a lot of people are using like Rock Slide, Earthquakes, even like Discharge and stuff like that. Is very common in the meta, so I think Wide Guard is a very, very good move to use. And then lastly, this one's a little this is my jump bluff that I use in my fire team, so I'm a little biased to this version. I'll go over exactly this version because I'm a lot more familiar with it. But of course, in the sun you get the chlorophyll, which doubles your speed, which is very important. You're gonna see I don't invest any EVs into speed, and I'll talk about that in a little bit because there's just no reason to. And then the item I always run Mental Herb because I run mine as a very support oriented jump bluff. So as you can see, I rock Tailwind, Helping Hand, and Rage Powder. So very, very good moves. There's a ton of different moves you could use. Once again, jump bluff gets a ton of support moves. You got Cotton Guard. I mean, that's not really support, but it's still a decent move. You can set up screens, so you can set up Light Screen and Reflect. And then you also get like Sleep Powder. Sleep Powder is something I was experimenting with a lot, and I ran like a pure support, but just with the team that I have, Energy Ball was just very important to have a stab grass move on my team. And then of course the Tailwind. And then like I said, with this one I'll go a little bit more in depth because I'm familiar with it. First of all, with the speed, with max speed you're not outspeeding any Tailwind setter, and you're not outspeeding like Garchomps or some other very important Pokemon without the sun. So I just don't even invest speed and just max out my defense. So I got 252 HP, 252 defense, 4 special defense with Bold Nature. I feel like you're mostly weak to fire and rocks, which are physical moves usually. And then there are some special like electric moves or special oriented for the most part. So maybe I mix it up a little bit in the future, but just for now this is what I've been running. So anyway, hope this video was useful. If it was, please leave a like. Let me know what other videos you want me to see. I'm planning on doing a lot more top 5s. I know this was like a top 3 with a ton of honorable mentions, but I just felt like this version there's just only 3 Pokemon that are just by far the best for setting up the Tailwind. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.